Joe Biden's people, they continue to push the most radical possible policy. Joe Biden's energy advisor continues to say that we're going to phase out oil drilling in the United States, which is an amazing statement at a time when gas prices are still like 50% higher than when Joe Biden took office.
But when he says we're going to end drilling domestically, that causes the major oil producers to not want to invest long term. How can you give me, you say we like them, we want them to produce. Give me a number on how long. Do you want them to do it for 5 more years, for 10 more years? How long will we need these major oil producers to keep drilling? What does he mean we're going to end drilling? When?
Well, eventually we're going to be phasing out the use of oil.
What is eventually? What's eventually? Because you're not going to want to invest any money in doing this if it's 2 or 3 years from now, or even 5 years almost.
So I don't think we're talking about 2-3 years. We're talking about longer than that.
Okay, well, what this really means in the long term for the Biden administration is probably there will be a recession next year. When there is a recession, we will finally emerge from that recession into very slow growth, which is exactly what Barack Obama did. Joe Biden's plans, economically speaking, are no different from Barack Obama's. In fact, if you recall, when Joe Biden entered office, he put out his prospectus for the next few years, economically speaking. And his suggestion was that the United States was going to grow at less than 2% GDP year on year for about the next 10 years, which is a really, really stagnating rate of growth for the world's most powerful economy. By the way, members of the media who are pumping up the Biden economy, they're not feeling it themselves, that is for sure, because CNN is now laying off hundreds of people, according to Mediaite. CNN chief Chris Licht announced the network will start making layoffs as part of his budget cut strategy. They're expected to target hundreds of CNN employees. Oliver Darcy, CNN's senior media reporter, released a letter that Licht sent out to the entire company on Wednesday. In it, Licht announced that the first round of layoffs will impact the network's paid contributors. The network's remaining staff would be informed of those changes tomorrow. So you're going to see a bunch of people who were on TV no longer be on TV because CNN is really cutting. They're having a rough time. It turns out that they really needed Donald Trump to be president in order to succeed, economically speaking. Licht has been vocal about his interest in reorienting CNN's editorial focus on straight news reporting. He's also signaled the network's rating struggles and debt from the Discovery-Warner Media merger could necessitate dramatic cuts for the network's projects, including hundreds of job losses. Mediaite says that the layoffs mostly focus on paid contributors. But the reality is that CNN is going to have to fire a bunch of its actual hosts. I'm sorry, shifting Don Lemon from evenings into mornings, where he can continue to be a left-wing propagandist while proclaiming to Stephen Colbert that he is, in fact, an objective news reporter. That ain't going to cut it over at CNN. You can also see, by the way, why the media are so, they are desperate for Donald Trump to come back. They want Donald Trump. It's something to remember as we go forward into the Republican primaries and toward 2024, is that the media do not get ratings out of other Republicans. The media don't get ratings out of Joe Biden. The media only get ratings out of Donald Trump. They need the opposition. They need the battle. It is the thing they love more than anything else. Their goal is going to be to give Donald Trump as much attention as humanly possible, specifically because, number one, the truth is it's a win-win for them. If Donald Trump wins, the media makes bank. The New York Times exploded in subscribership because Donald Trump was president. So if he wins, the media do great. And if he loses, then the media get to brag that they stopped Donald Trump. So it's a win-win for them in every possible way. CNN without Donald Trump is a ratings disaster area. This is one area where Trump was totally 100% right. And you're seeing that now as CNN is forced to lay off an enormous number of people in their contributorships behind the camera. And if Licht actually wanted to do something useful, he actually would reorient CNN. I just don't have any faith that Licht is actually going to do that. Well, meanwhile, controversy continues to swirl around Elon Musk. The media are out to nail Musk, again, because they saw Twitter as their preserve. It was their domain. Twitter was the place that they were going to be able to control the narrative. And now that Musk has taken over Twitter with $44 billion of his own money and investor money, they're very angry that he did that. And so they play this silly game now where they find people who have been laid off by Twitter, the disgruntled employees, and then they suggest that those disgruntled employees have an amazing insight into Twitter. So, for example, they've started citing Yoel Roth, who's the former head of trust and safety over at Twitter, suggesting that the place is not safe anymore. Well, weird. I mean, it's almost as though you got fired and now you're bitter about it and you're upset about it. He did, by the way, admit in an interview with journalist Kara Swisher that it was a mistake for Twitter to censor the Hunter Biden story. He said, "We didn't know what to believe. We didn't know what was true. There was smoke. And ultimately, for me, it didn't reach a place where I was comfortable removing this content from Twitter, but it set off alarm bells for every single one of my finely tuned APT28 hack and leak campaign alarm bells." Asked if it was a mistake for Twitter to have blocked the story, Roth said yes, but He also suggested that the place is not safe, that it's a really bad place now that he is no longer there. And this is contributing to, again, more Democratic heartburn over Twitter. Musk is out there saying openly that there needs to be more transparency as to what went on at Twitter while he was not in charge. There's a person who tweeted at him the other day suggesting that there needed to be more transparency. Twitter has shown itself to be not safe for the past 10 years and has lost users' trust. The past team of trust and safety is a disgrace, so it doesn't have any right to judge what's being done now, said this Twitter user. They had a chance, but they sold their souls to a corporation. And Musk responded directly to this person. This is one thing that's amazing about Musk. I mean, this is the richest man in the world, and he's just responding to randos on Twitter. Exactly. The obvious reality, as longtime users know, is that Twitter has failed in trust and safety for a very long time and has interfered in elections. Twitter 2.0 will be far more effective, transparent, and even-handed. And this, of course, is what is driving people up a wall on the left. This is why you have Elizabeth Warren, who's ripping on Elon Musk. I have to say there's great irony to Elizabeth Warren suggesting that there cannot be too much power at the top of a privately held company when she is literally the creator of the Consumer Finance Protection Board, which was under her auspices, completely independent of any other branch of government and had its own funding mechanism. And basically, with such an autocracy, the Supreme Court struck down its entire structure. Elizabeth Warren has no problem with centralization of power. She just wants to be the person with the bad haircut at the top of it.
Republicans say that Democrats are picking on Elon Musk.
Elon Musk is doing just fine.
But do you think that users have a right to freedom of speech, even if what they're saying is wrong or offensive?
I think that one human being should not decide how millions of people communicate with each other. One human being should not be able to go into a dark room by himself and decide, oh, that person gets heard from, that person doesn't. That's not how it should work.
I mean, that's an amazing statement from a person who's as in favor of centralization of power as Elizabeth Warren. And Joe Biden literally goes into a dark room. He actually goes into his coffin at night. And when they close that coffin, he signs a bunch of executive orders, and this emerges as the policy of the United States. Again, Elizabeth Warren is the creator of the Consumer Finance Protection Board, which is explicitly designed to basically control the American economy without any sort of check or balance on it. But she's very angry that Elon Musk, who spent his own money and investor money in order to buy a company, is being actually quite transparent about how he's making these decisions. And he's just saying, I don't want this person on, I don't want this person on, I do want this person on. And he's willing to take the flak for that. And that's not transparent enough for Elizabeth Warren. What she wants is a completely opaque algorithm that supposedly decides on an objective basis who's getting bad. But everybody knows, if they've been watching Twitter for the past 10 years, that that's not how it works over at Twitter. That it's not objective in any way, shape, or form. You see people who completely violate the rules and get away with it. You see people who don't violate the rules and get banned. The problem for her is not that she doesn't like one person at the top deciding. It's that she doesn't like the person at the top who is doing the deciding. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it. We will be getting into The Daily Show dishonestly comparing Nick Fuentes to Tucker Carlson and a lot of other stuff. If you're not a member, click the link in the description and join us.